Desperate cries echo through the dark dungeon. The legendary first hunter, Jun Wu, lies critically injured, barely opening his eyes, as his comrades beg him to stay awake. Our boy ignores his own wounds, immediately asking about the battle. Hearing that the terrifying monster is finally dead, a relieved smile breaks through his bloodstained face. Humanity paid a massive price to defeat this beast. As his comrades desperately call for medics, Jun Wu just shakes his head. He knows his mangled body is beyond saving. In his final moments, he calmly leaves the team in the hands of his vice leader. With a peaceful apology to his fallen brothers, the first hunter closes his eyes forever. Heartbreaking sobs echo through the dungeon as his comrades kneel around his body, mourning the tragic fall of humanity's greatest hero. Suddenly, a sharp smack shatters the tragic vibe. Fast forward to modern times, a scrawny high schooler also named Jun Wu is being mercilessly bullied by classroom thugs. Enduring their sneers and ridiculous demands, this powerless kid has somehow been reduced to a mere errand boy for these delinquents, living an absolutely miserable life. Flashing back to his death, our hero's soul drifts in a void. The supposedly dead monster arrogantly taunts him, igniting his fury. The real threat is just beginning to surface. Even in the void after death, our boy isn't backing down. He proudly declares the subjugation system he built will forge future hunters strong enough to protect the world. But the monster chillingly announces it will return in 42 years. Furious, our guy vows that by then, the beast will be crushed like a mere bug. Suddenly, our boy wakes up in a modern hospital bed. Looking in the mirror, he's completely shocked to find himself trapped in the body of a weak 17-year-old kid. Before he can process this crazy situation, a doctor and an investigator walk in. While checking his identity, they bluntly state that he is currently 17 years old. Our guy seriously claims his past birth year and mentions his battle with the ultimate monster. His bizarre words leave them sweating, completely convinced his brain is scrambled. Hearing them whisper and write off his truth as short-term memory loss, our boy doesn't argue back, but silently starts analyzing his bizarre situation. The investigator reveals this body was ambushed yesterday. Hearing these details, our guy is left in stunned silence as he realizes the monster's 42-year prophecy is already here. The investigator leaves his card and heads out. Just as the doctor is about to leave, our boy nervously stops him to ask the most crucial question: what year is it? March 1st, 2051. Hearing this, our guy is completely stunned. He never imagined that exactly 42 years have passed since his heroic death. Refusing to believe it, he rushes to the window. But instead of the post-war ruins and starving refugees from his memory, a peaceful, modern metropolis unfolds before his eyes. Watching happy families and people playing badminton on the streets, a massive weight lifts from his shoulders. Realizing his comrades' sacrifices brought true peace, he sheds tears of pure joy. Looking out the window, he starts reminiscing about his old comrades. But just as he sighs at the passage of time, a chilling realization hits him. It's been exactly 42 years. Before he can process it, a violent tremor and blaring alarm shatter the peace. A massive dungeon portal abruptly bursts open right outside the hospital, sending panicked crowds fleeing. Faced with this sudden crisis, our legendary hunter doesn't run away. Instead, he sprints excitedly toward the portal, eager to see how much modern subjugation battles have evolved over 42 years. Hoping to see a modern monster raid, our boy rushes to the scene. But instead of a tense battlefield, he finds a massive crowd casually watching like it's a festival. The official broadcast then announces they will lure the monster outside in 10 minutes. Hearing this absolute insanity, our boy is utterly stunned. Back in his days, he strictly enforced the rule to fight inside the dungeon, knowing a single escaped monster could wipe out an entire city. But these absolute madmen are ignoring the rules and setting up cameras for a live broadcast. This sheer absurdity makes his blood boil. Just as he's about to lose it, the monster roars. Instead of panicking, the crowd erupts into deafening cheers like crazy fans. Bathed in spotlights, the popular idol hunter Go Uchai makes a flashy entrance. Striking a pose for the cameras, she treats the deathly raid like a red carpet event. Seeing this modern hunter craving attention, our guy is completely disgusted. This corrupted era has turned a life-threatening battle into a cheap entertainment show. However, while everyone is busy enjoying this flashy show, the vicious monsters are already bursting through the dungeon's final defense. A ferocious giant wolf suddenly lunges, about to devour the blonde girl on the ground. But just in the nick of time, someone intervenes. With dazzling frost effects, idol hunter Go Uchai makes her grand entrance. she effortlessly swings her ice blade, knocking the massive beast away in style. Instead of running in fear, the crowd cheers wildly like they're at a concert. To them, this isn't a life or death battle, but an entertaining idol show. Eunchai unleashes an overly flashy combo with maximum visual effects, even striking a perfectly choreographed pose upon landing. The giant wolf is instantly frozen solid. Hearing the crowd's crazy cheers, our guy Jun Wu completely snaps. He laughs out of pure rage. Turning humanity's survival into a cheap circus act. How is this a monster subjugation? Watching these modern show-offs, Jun Wu is pulled back to his past life's hellish battles. His comrades were covered in blood, desperately crying out over his dying body. Even with his last breath, his only concern was that the ultimate beast was destroyed. Realizing their bloody sacrifices have become a cheap cash grab, our boy knows a brutal purge is coming. After 3 years of brutal warfare, our boy the legendary first hunter Kim Jun Wu finally defeated the ultimate world-ending beast. Hearing the frantic calls for medics, Jun Wu knew his body had reached its limit. Half of his torso was already reduced to ashes. With his last breath, he entrusted the future to his comrades. For the hero, there was no fear, only relief at reuniting with his fallen brothers. Amidst the agonizing cries of his team, the great pioneer who built the modern subjugation system closed his eyes forever. This should have been an epic ending. But shockingly, Jun Wu reincarnated 42 years later into a bullied high schooler who shares his exact name. Facing these arrogant bullies, the former strongest hunter had to force a smile and act as their errand boy. Talk about a massive downgrade. Why hide his strength? Recalling his past death, his soul had drifted in the void as the beast mocked that humanity was doomed without him. Furious, our boy fired back. He declared that his meticulously crafted combat system would ensure future hunters grew even stronger. But the monster's final words were chilling. It prophesied its resurrection in exactly 42 years to test this future. And now time is up. Haunted by the brutal memory of perishing alongside the ultimate beast, our boy suddenly snaps his eyes open. Waking up totally confused, he finds himself in an unfamiliar hospital instead of the afterlife. What's crazier is that the face on the screen isn't his younger self at all. Before he can process this absurd situation, a doctor and a detective walk in, saying they need to question him about an assault case. When the detective verifies his ID, our guy bluntly states he was born in 1975, even seriously recounting his glorious battle against the apocalyptic beast. Hearing this wild talk, the two men sweat profusely. Looking at the high schooler with the same name, they conclude the poor kid was beaten into severe delusions. Unable to get any details about the late-night attack, the detective sighs in defeat. He hands over a business card, telling our boy to call if anything comes to mind. Watching them prepare to leave, our guy's brain works in overdrive. Desperate to find out how long he's been asleep, he quickly calls out to the doctor. Hearing the doctor say it's 2051 leaves our boy in absolute shock. Unable to process the truth, he stumbles to the window and tears the curtains open. In his memories, Seoul was a ruined wasteland filled with refugees. But the bustling, modern city right before his eyes leaves him utterly speechless. Watching the peaceful, happy crowds below, tears of relief well up in his eyes. He takes a deep breath, silently hoping his old comrades are still alive. But the relief is short-lived. A terrifying realization hits him. 42 years have passed, making this the exact year the apocalyptic disaster was prophesied to return. As if on cue, blaring disaster alarms shatter the peace. A massive energy portal suddenly tears open outside the hospital, sending terrified civilians running for their lives. Instead of panicking, our guy rushes out, thrilled to see modern hunters in action. But when he hits the street, he's absolutely baffled. The crowd is casually watching the portal like a show. What is going on? Hearing the announcement that they were going to lure the monster out, our boy is absolutely stunned and then furious. In his past life, letting a monster into the city meant mass destruction. Fighting inside the dungeon is the absolute golden rule. Seeing these people completely ignore the safety rules, he curses at them, trying his best to stop this absolute madness. But the scene is set up exactly like a reality show, complete with cameras. Seeing this life-threatening absurdity, he roars in frustration. His warnings are completely drowned out. Instead of running for their lives, the crowd is screaming a specific name in a total frenzy. With a flashy entrance, the top idol hunter Go Eunchai appears, even casually striking a pose for the cameras before the fight. Our boy is left entirely speechless by this girl treating a deadly battle like a fashion walk. Meanwhile, Eunchai smoothly activates her system skills. Just as the hype reaches its absolute peak, a massive, lightning-wreathed wolf finally steps out of the abyss with a deafening roar. Meanwhile, the modern hunters are facing off against a giant wolf. But instead of a life-or-death battle, they treat it like a runway show, smiling for the cameras while unleashing flashy, over-the-top magic. As the crowd goes wild, our boy is hit by a heavy wave of nostalgia. Back in his day, being a hunter actually meant protecting the innocent and making real sacrifices. With a ridiculously exaggerated burst of ice, the beast is defeated. True to her brand, the idol hunter gracefully strikes a perfect victory pose right next to the monster's frozen corpse. The fans scream Go Yunchi's name in a pure frenzy. Watching this absurd circus, our boy lets out a hollow laugh before genuine, terrifying anger takes over. Is this what they call a raid now? Standing there in disbelief, he realizes how deeply the hunter system is rotted. What used to be a deadly battlefield is now just a cheap entertainment show filled with rookies obsessed with stream views. Unable to stomach another second of this garbage, our boy steps up and starts yelling. Security tries to shut him down, but he furiously screams right back, demanding to know what the hell they think they're doing. While the crowd eagerly watches the hunt like a live reality show, our boy acutely senses the fatal danger hidden behind these flashy moves. Seeing the completely exposed rear formation, our guy loses his temper. He furiously yells at them for recklessly pulling monsters into a crowded street, exposing their so-called subjugation. Publicly criticized, the idol hunter Go Eunchai is not having it. She arrogantly tries to lecture this unruly student with the shallow theories she learned at the academy. Hearing her confidently talk about real combat, our veteran boy finds it purely laughable. His contemptuous attitude thoroughly infuriates the proud girl. Before things can escalate, security guards step in and drag our boy away. Even while forcefully removed, he mercilessly mocks her pathetic combat skills. Watching him being dragged away, Eunchai lets out a disdainful sneer, unaware that our boy's heart has just sunk to absolute rock bottom. Slumping on a bench alone, our boy falls into deep despair. With modern hunters degraded to this pathetic state, the world will surely face doomsday when the apocalyptic beast revives. Just when he feels completely cornered, a sudden realization hits him. If modern hunters are useless, he just needs to gather his loyal old squad from his past life. There's still a chance. Our boy was scratching his head over how to find his old comrades, when he suddenly remembered that punk mentioning a hunter academy. It hit him like a truck. In the past 30 years, there was only one person capable of building such an academy, his former trusted subordinate, Bae Wooshik. His mind drifted back to a campfire from his past life. Bae Wooshik once swore that after the war, he'd build a school to nurture the next generation. Back then, our boy casually named it Korea Hunter Academy, which earned a groan from his buddy. Who knew that throwaway joke would actually become reality? Following the clues, he arrived at the school gates. Looking at the ridiculously massive campus, he couldn't help but sweat a little at how huge his old comrade's project had become. Before he could finish marveling, a security guard stepped up to interrogate him, mistaking our guy for some crazy fanboy waiting for an idol hunter. About to get kicked out, he quickly asked for Bae Wooshik. Now the guard was stunned. Why was this random kid casually naming their esteemed chairman? Looking at his outfit, the guard suddenly assumed he was the rumored special admission student. To sneak in, our boy naturally just played along. The guard led the way onto the campus. Walking behind him, our guy couldn't help but wonder, why did that old man just give him a look of pure pity? Was he walking into a trap? Following the academy staff, our boy finally steps into the school. But the moment he walks in, he is completely dumbfounded by a massive, overly dramatic portrait of his past self. His loud reaction earns him a quick warning from the guide. Looking at the fabricated quotes under the portrait, our guy seriously doubts if he ever said such cringy things. They soon arrive at the chairman's office. After introducing the new special transfer student, the manager warns our boy to behave before taking his leave. As the manager steps out, the chairman turns around with a stern face. However, our boy instantly recognizes this grumpy old man as his former subordinate, Wooshik. Thrilled to see his old comrade, our guy enthusiastically reveals his true identity. But the chairman obviously doesn't buy it, treating him like an absolute lunatic. Losing his patience, the old man picks up the phone to call security. To prove himself, our boy casually drops some juicy gossip from their past, instantly striking a nerve. The furious chairman lunges forward and grabs our boy by the collar. Instead of panicking, our guy just smiles helplessly. It seems convincing his old buddy will take some effort. Facing his old comrade's rough interrogation, our boy doesn't panic at all, but smiles calmly instead. Dropping his timid high schooler act, he reprimands the old man in a terrifyingly familiar tone. Along with that bone-chilling lecture, his overwhelming past life aura instantly erupts. Seeing the overlapping illusion before him, the white-haired academy chairman tears up, screaming that long-lost title leader in absolute disbelief. Time rewinds 40 years to the subjugation camp. An infected man, desperate to get antibiotics for his brother, takes an innocent girl hostage and screams frantically at the guards. Just when everyone is at a loss, our boy the then army leader steps up himself. He walks forward expressionlessly, his intense pressure scaring the hostage-taker into a cold sweat. Our guy just releases his aura, making everyone present struggle to breathe. Faced with the frantic threat of come closer and she dies, he simply stops and coldly spreads his hands. Not only does he disregard the hostage's life, but he delivers a soul-crushing question. If you do anything to save your family, why are you hesitating to kill her? The original legend's extreme pragmatism is fully unveiled here. In this ruined world, our boy's past self delivers a harsh truth to his squad. If they want to save anyone, they must be prepared to take a life, without hesitation. Driven to madness after failing his hostage attempt, the desperate survivor frantically swings his blade. However, his uncoordinated and rage-fueled attacks mean absolutely nothing in the face of true power. Barely breaking a sweat, our boy effortlessly catches the incoming strike barehanded. With a swift twist of the wrist, he flips the attacker into the air, sending him plummeting. Refusing to accept defeat, the battered attacker leaps up for one final, desperate plunge. Seeing that unbreakable fighting spirit, our guy just smirks in approval and activates his weapon. Blocking the lethal strike with sheer energy, our boy charges up an ultra-compressed blast at his fingertips. A simple flick unleashes a devastating shockwave that craters the attacker into the pavement. Having subdued the wild threat, our guy casually turns to his subordinate standing on the ruins. Hearing his name called, Byungmin instantly stiffens up in nervous anticipation of his orders. Instead of an execution, our boy unexpectedly orders them to gather antibiotics and rescue the attacker's sister. This shocks Byungmin, as risking their lives traveling over 100 kilometers for a potentially infected stranger sounds like sheer madness. Thinking back to over 40 years ago, our boy was a legendary hunter. He personally recruited lost youths into his team, forging a lifelong bond. Back to the present, the academy chairman simply can't believe his eyes. How could his former leader, who died 40 years ago, return as a high schooler? Seeing his old comrade's doubt, our boy pulls out a trump card, smiling as he offers to bring up some embarrassing memories from the past. Meanwhile, the manager in charge of admissions is rushing over in a panic. He just got chewed out for letting our guy in, so he's coming to apologize. He carefully peeks inside, only to witness a mind-boggling scene. The usually mighty chairman is doing push-ups on the floor, while the high schooler strictly counts reps. Turns out, the stories our boy told were so shameful that the chairman instinctively punched him. Now, he can only apologize sheepishly as our boy nurses a black eye. Sitting with his former subordinate, now the academy director, our boy directly calls out the absurdity of the modern world, especially how monster subjugations have become cheap shows. The director helplessly explains that since our guy defeated the ultimate beast decades ago, the long peace made people complacent, treating dangerous monster hunts as mere outdoor entertainment. Furious at this reckless disregard for safety, our boy slams the table and stands up. Looking at the commercialized idol hunters, he angrily declares it's not too late to fix this mess. He demands the director clean up the academy, but Bae admits the elite factions are too deeply entrenched. Undeterred, our boy suggests rallying their old comrades for help. However, reality hits hard. Those old comrades are now the very masterminds behind this corruption, and they absolutely wouldn't welcome their former leader's return, prompting Bae to frantically declare his own loyalty. Frustrated by this completely messed up situation, our boy face bombs. Seeing his leader's youth, the director warmly suggests he should just let it go and enjoy a peaceful new life. Unfortunately, this peace is just an illusion. Our guy's grim revelation that the ultimate beast is resurrecting instantly terrifies the director, signaling that the real apocalyptic crisis has just begun. Our boy reveals the truth of his reincarnation after 42 years to his former subordinate. Hearing this, the old director is completely shocked, struggling to believe his legendary leader has actually returned in a high schooler's body. Panicking about the looming threat, the old man asks for a plan. Our boy confidently declares he'll handle it solo like the good old days, but the director quickly shuts him down, pointing out his currently weak physical state. Realizing fighting barehanded won't work, our guy asks about the whereabouts of his past life's exclusive weapon. The director gravely informs him that the legendary blade is now securely stored at the association's headquarters. To his surprise, the current person in charge is their old junior Go Suptu. Our guy smiles, thinking it'll be an easy favor, but the director sighs, warning that their once loyal subordinate might be the last person who wants him back. Frustrated that asking directly isn't an option, our guy scratches his head. The director quickly suggests a workaround. Go Suptu is fiercely overprotective of his granddaughter, who happens to attend this very academy. Winning her over might be the key. Thinking it's a solid plan, our boy asks for her name. However, as a familiar, arrogant figure slowly pops into his mind, a deep sense of dread begins to wash over him. Realizing the granddaughter is the idol hunter Go Eun-chai, our boy immediately starts sweating. He had just harshly scolded her for that flashy public hunt. Now, before even getting his weapon, he's completely offended his only ticket to it. Facing President Bae's panicked questions about yesterday's conflict, our boy scratches his head, assuring him that he only lost his temper a bit without hurting anyone. Learning that his past life weapon is kept by high-ranking officials, our guy firmly demands an application form, deciding to infiltrate the academy as a special student. Hearing Bae frantically tease him about his actual age, our guy just pinches his nose. He's not here to make friends, planning to leave the moment he reclaims his weapon. Seeing his former leader as relentless as ever, Bae reluctantly approves his enrollment with one strict condition. Considering how fragile today's kids are, absolutely no hellish training like the old days. The very next day, wearing his new uniform, our boy arrives at Class 1E. Despite surviving countless life and death battles, he actually feels a bit nervous before entering. Just as he secretly plans how to keep a low profile, a cold voice complains from behind, nearly shattering his carefully prepared disguise on the spot. On his first day, our boy is immediately stopped in the hallway by a blonde girl. She stares him down and straight up asks if he's the dog from yesterday, leaving him completely baffled. Confused, he tries to figure out what she means by that weird nickname. But she doesn't even give him a chance to speak, just muttering to herself before walking away and leaving him stranded. Still full of questions, our guy pushes open his new classroom door, only to step into an even weirder vibe. The room goes dead silent as everyone stares, secretly whispering rumors about what happened yesterday. Surrounded by nosy stares, our boy decides to completely ignore them and head straight to his seat. He thought this elite hunter academy would be intense, but it feels surprisingly ordinary. However, things get weird again when he spots a massive, flashy bouquet on his desk. It's a congratulatory gift from his former subordinate, Director Bae. Our boy can only sigh at the old man's overly dramatic welcome. Just as he's wondering what to do with the flowers, the classroom door is violently kicked open. An arrogant delinquent storms in, loudly cursing about being dragged to school so early in the morning. The noisy intruder is in the middle of his tantrum when he suddenly spots our boy. A wicked smirk spreads across his face as he finds his new target, completely unaware of the absolute monster he's about to mess with. In the classroom, a light brown-haired bully swaggers over to our boy's desk, maliciously bringing up yesterday's clash with the idol hunter, Go Eun-chai. It turns out the footage of yesterday's incident has already gone viral online. Our boy finally realizes why everyone was giving him weird looks all morning. The bully arrogantly extends his hand, introducing himself as Oh Jusiok with a condescending smirk. Unfazed, our guy shakes it and calmly states his name, Jun Wu. Hearing the name, Jusiok freezes before bursting into hysterical laughter. He ruthlessly mocks our boy, joking that his parents must be delusional to name him after the legendary savior. After laughing his head off, the jerk suddenly changes the subject. Leaning in with a creepy smirk, he starts asking sleazy questions and making inappropriate comments about Yuji's body. Pointing at his head, he complains about her terrible personality and fierce eyes, shamelessly adding that if it weren't for those flaws, she'd actually be his exact type. Right in the middle of his rant, a blonde classmate named Go Ayan crosses her arms and roasts him without hesitation. Before you judge someone else's looks, why don't you look in a mirror? Humiliated in public, Jusiok instantly loses his temper. But Ayan isn't intimidated at all, easily shutting him down by reminding him that they're all just the same lowly class E outcasts anyway. In the classroom, the arrogant bully is right in the blonde girl's face, relentlessly mocking her for dropping down to class E despite her family's connections. But before he can finish his threats, he's suddenly sent crashing to the floor. The unexpected impact leaves the entire class completely stunned. The one who kicked him is none other than our boy. Looking down at the confused bully, he coldly asks if he needs another kick to understand what just happened. The bully scrambles to his feet, trying to play it cool at first, but completely loses his temper a second later, screaming that he's going to beat our guy to a pulp. Facing such a cheap threat, our boy bursts into laughter. His smile quickly fades into a chilling glare, because threatening a former legendary hunter with death is nothing but a joke. The furious bully lunges forward with a wild punch. But in our guy's eyes, this sloppy attack full of blind spots is just painfully pathetic. Just as our boy is about to teach him a lesson, the homeroom teacher arrives and interrupts the clash. Realizing he's out of luck, the bully clicks his tongue, drops a final warning, and backs off. Our boy is already planning an exciting school life, but the white-haired chairman is stressed out of his mind. Dealing with Jun Wu's first day brawl is giving his former subordinate a massive headache. The chairman drops a heavy truth bomb. The bully our guy just kicked is actually the son of the Subjugation Bureau's minister, a spoiled tyrant who uses his family's power to get away with anything. Seeing the chairman angrily warn that he won't bail him out next time, our boy just waves it off. He promises to handle the mess himself and steps out of the office. As soon as he steps out, he is startled by the blonde girl he saved earlier. She asks why he provoked such a dangerous guy, but our boy flips the question, asking why she stood up when the bully was only trash-talking Go Chai. Taking a closer look at her familiar features and her name tag, it suddenly clicks for our guy. With that face and the name Go Ayan, he quickly pieces together that she must be Go Yunchi's sister. Hearing her confirm it, our boy secretly celebrates, thinking he's found a shortcut to connect with his old subordinate's family. But Ayan immediately bursts his bubble, bluntly stating they are half-sisters, and she's essentially a stranger to the family. Still holding on to a sliver of hope, he asks about her grandfather. Ayan just sneers, calling him the old geezer who kicked her out, before teasingly calling out our boy for thinking he'd hit the connection jackpot. Being a special admission student without backing is tough. Our boy just tried to make contact, only to get blasted and accused of being another cloud chaser sucking up to the elites. The guy vents his frustration, aggressively warning him about the miserable reality of being a special admission student here. Our boy just stands there, completely speechless at the unprovoked rant. Watching the sparrow fly away, our boy sighs to himself. He thought getting close to Go Chai would be a breeze, but clearly, he'll need a new strategy. While figuring out his next move, trouble finds him first. A hostile guy in a green hoodie blocks his path. "Hey, you the special admission kid from Class E?" Our guy has no idea who this random NPC is. With a crowd gathering, the hoodie guy impatiently signals him to follow. "Come with me, unless you want to get beaten up and humiliated right here," he threatens. Not wanting to cause a scene, our boy plays along and follows them to a sketchy old building. As he steps inside, the overwhelming smell of smoke confirms this is their cliché delinquent hideout. Inside, a smug guy in a hood sits high up, grinning maliciously. "Before we make some unforgettable school memories, let me ask you something. These kids have no idea what kind of monster they just provoked." The school bully is in utter disbelief. He can't fathom how a special admission student on welfare would dare to provoke him. Instead of getting scared, our boy just smiles and nonchalantly asks what the big deal is. This careless attitude completely infuriates the bully. Unwilling to dirty his own hands, the arrogant bully orders his lackeys to attack. The goons immediately lunge forward with fierce momentum. The flashy attack proves utterly useless. Our guy casually dodges it, causing the first lackey to lose his balance and crash hard onto the floor. Sitting on the steps, our boy starts ruthlessly mocking them. Humiliated and enraged, the remaining two goons angrily surround him from both sides. Facing the pincer attack, our boy casually knocks one out with a single strike. Seeing an opening, the other lackey lands a solid punch to the back of his head. But the joy is short-lived. Taking absolutely no damage, our guy mocks their terrible fighting skills before ruthlessly stomping the sneaker deep into the ground. Seeing their comrade lying motionless in a pool of blood, the once arrogant bullies are completely paralyzed by fear, sweating profusely as they stumble backward. Dropping his harmless facade, our boy flashes a menacing smile. He's more than ready to give these arrogant brats a truly unforgettable high school memory. Just as this one-sided beatdown is about to unfold, a blonde girl is seen walking down the corridor with a confident smile, slowly approaching the scene. Rumors are flying around the academy. The students are already writing off our boy, completely convinced that getting targeted by the school bully means his time here is basically over. But reality hits completely differently. With his hands still casually in his pockets, our boy effortlessly drops one of the goons. Furious, the bully desperately orders the rest to attack. Your physical ability and mentality are literally at a kid's level. Our guy's eyes glow with a terrifying aura. Sweating bullets from the pressure, the panicked bully orders them to use their skills. Terrified of expulsion but forced by their boss, the lackeys activate high-level power-boosting bracelets. As they writhe in pain to forcefully draw out the energy, our boy just watches them coldly. Ignoring the risk of getting caught during his probation, the desperate bully smirks as he activates his own energy. With his D-rank skill finally unlocked, the real beatdown is about to begin. As the system lifts the skill restriction, the purple-haired bully summons a glowing trident, arrogantly mocking our boy for being a useless weakling. But the bully's smirk fades fast. Our boy casually grabs a broomstick, coldly mocking his opponent's ignorance for not realizing he's already using a skill. Armed with a simple broom, our guy easily dominates the room. He glares coldly, harshly scolding the bully for daring to use skills on people outside a dungeon. Meanwhile, the teachers are gossiping. Seeing our boy assigned to the worst class, they assume he's just a talentless troublemaker picking fights with bullies. Just as the homeroom teacher sighs in despair, a colleague drops a massive bombshell. Our boy's true entrance rank is the legendary excluded from evaluation. The teacher is absolutely stunned. This title is strictly reserved for geniuses whose combat power is immeasurable, putting him on par with the Academy's absolute elite. Confused, she asks why such a prodigy was thrown into the lowest class. The colleague whispers that it was the chairman's direct order to keep him hidden. Before they can even process this news, the door bursts open. A panicked Ayan rushes in, shouting that our boy has gotten himself into a serious situation. Facing a relentless barrage of attacks, our boy effortlessly blocks everything with just a broken broom. The villain is left totally dumbfounded, wondering why his top-tier skill can't even chop through some old wood. Frustrated, the school bully teleports behind and points his spear at our guy's neck. But without even turning around, our boy calmly roasts him, saying you shouldn't just swing a high-grade weapon around blindly. And used to being lectured, the arrogant bully snaps back. But our guy casually parries the strikes while giving him a literal combat lesson, mocking him for using an epic spear like a cheap fly swatter. You see, this spear is a top-tier cheat item gifted by his powerful official dad, which let him rule the academy. Seeing his biggest source of pride get absolutely trashed, the bully is completely losing his mind. Before he can even react, our guy barehandedly grabs the spear tip and instantly disarms him. Hearing the system alert, the villain collapses, forced to watch his own weapon pointed right at his head. Watch closely, kid. This is how you use a weapon. The moment he unleashes a fraction of his true power, the terrifying aura literally turns the sky black outside, leaving everyone in pure shock. As the tide turns, everyone is left in shock. The menacing shadow minions that once surrounded them have vanished into thin air. The bully is completely dumbfounded. Wielding the stolen trident, our boy uses a suffocating purple aura, unleashing the weapon's true, terrifying power. Crushed by our boy's apocalyptic pressure, the once arrogant bully instantly loses his nerve, falling to his knees and begging for mercy in sheer despair. However, just at that moment, the 1-minute trial limit expires. The system forcibly seals the high-tier weapon, and the heavy atmosphere finally begins to fade. Even though the aura is gone, the bully's mind is completely broken as he foams at the mouth. Our boy sighs, and gives him a light kick to wake him up. Watching the shivering mess violently backing away, our boy crosses his arms, and glares down coldly. The real interrogation is only just beginning. Facing these reckless bullies, our boy is furious. He coldly demands to know if they think using skills on regular people comes without consequences. His terrifying aura has the bullies trembling. But just when everyone thinks he's going to wipe them out, our guy suddenly tells them to hit him with everything they've got. Knowing he can't expose his true strength, our boy provokes them. Backed into a corner, the chubby kid screams and throws a full-power punch to avoid getting punished. With a heavy thud, our boy takes the hit and collapses in a pool of blood. The homeroom teacher arrives, absolutely furious that they would gang up on a new transfer student. The actual bully stands there completely bewildered, since that pool of blood is from when he got beaten up earlier. Oblivious, the teacher quickly orders Go Ayan to take our boy to the infirmary. Walking down the empty hallway, our guy wipes the blood from his mouth, cursing how weak this new body is. He barely tanks such a sloppy punch. He tries to play the victim, but Ayan isn't buying it. She bluntly tells him to drop the act she saw exactly how he crushed everyone in that room just moments ago. Meanwhile, Go Ayan is searching everywhere for our boy. As she peeks through the gym window, she accidentally witnesses his terrifying combat skills, leaving her completely speechless. Shocked by his power, she questions why someone with his talent is stuck in Class E. Our guy just wipes the blood off his face and coldly tells her to forget everything she saw, insisting he only wants a low-profile life. To keep her quiet, our boy even humbles himself and formally apologizes for judging her earlier. However, Ayan doesn't miss a beat. She immediately begs him to help her run for the student council. Turns out, without family backing, she can't find a guarantor. She even promises to do anything he wants if he helps, but our battered guy just wants to reach the infirmary and flat out rejects her. Our guy is confused why she is so obsessed since she was kicked out of her family. Ayan tearfully admits it's the only way to see her arrogant sister again. Right at this touching moment, our boy suddenly coughs up a massive amount of blood. Lost in her sadness, Ayan thinks he simply refuses to help and is about to give up. But she turns around only to realize our guy has reached his absolute limit and collapses to the ground, leaving her completely panicked. Meanwhile, an emergency teachers meeting is urgently convened at the Hunter Academy to address a recent and severe violent incident on campus. The faculty is absolutely furious. Using combat skills on a fellow student is a strict taboo, and they urge the chairman to handle it impartially. When Chairman Bae hears that the victim is our boy, he breaks into a cold sweat, frantically double-checking if Jun Wu actually let himself get beaten up. Relieved that Jun Wu took the hit without destroying the school, the chairman sighs deeply. He then sternly declares that the attacker must be formally expelled. Just then, the corrupt teacher Cha Junmin interrupts the discussion. With a hypocritical smile, he smoothly argues that expulsion is far too harsh of a punishment. Ignoring Ms. Yang's angry protests, Cha releases an oppressive aura, shamelessly arguing that a talented student's future shouldn't be ruined over a minor mistake. He casually suggests a mere 1-week suspension instead. Seeing the tense standoff, the headache-ridden chairman decides to postpone the final verdict and adjourns the meeting. Meanwhile, the corrupt teacher Cha Junmin is secretly plotting with higher-ups. They plan to secure the student council spot for a bully, and use the upcoming evaluation to eliminate our boy. Back in the classroom, our boy is bored out of his mind. It's been 3 days, and he hasn't learned anything useful or caught a single glimpse of Go Eun-chai. Suddenly, a fist smacks the back of his head. A group of arrogant bullies surrounds him, mocking him and demanding he act as their personal Wi-Fi hotspot and snack fetcher. On the surface, our guy looks like a pathetic errand boy obediently following them out. But in reality, a terrifying smirk is creeping onto his face. The scene cuts, and those tough bullies are now kneeling and sweating bullets. Turns out, our boy ordered them to put on this bullying act to keep a low profile. Faced with our boy's terrifying glare, the trembling lackeys quickly report their findings. It seems the elusive Go Eun-chai rarely shows up to school, and has basically zero friends. Our guy walks on, quietly plotting his next move. He figures that a student council member named Kim Jong-yoon is the only useful lead to break the current deadlock. Meanwhile, the villain boss is throwing a massive fit over his failure to track down our boy. Looking at his beaten-up lackeys, he angrily demands solid intel for next time. Back to our boy, Go Ayan quickly bursts his bubble, claiming it's impossible to casually meet the student council. Our guy is genuinely confused as to why a mere student group is acting so high and mighty. Seeing his confusion, Ayan patiently explains the harsh reality. In this academy, student council members are elite hunters from prestigious families, holding ultimate privilege that even teachers fear. Our boy concludes that these elites operate on a completely different level. Taking the chance, Ayan eagerly steps up again, persistently begging him to help her secure a spot in that exclusive circle. But our boy isn't buying it. He ruthlessly uses her own words against her, pointing out that with her current lack of skills and background, dreaming of the council is a total joke. Seeing her refuse to back down, our guy drops the playful act. He glares down at her with a chilling gaze, strictly warning that learning from him could easily cost her life. Sighing at her stubbornness, our guy turns his back, telling her to stop chasing impossible dreams. Unfazed, Ayan bluntly states she would rather die than give up on her goal. Facing his resistance, she goes all out. With teary eyes, she practically begs him to teach her everything he knows. Her absolute, do-or-die resolve proves she is truly ready for his hellish training. Facing Go Ayan's fierce declaration to endure any training, our boy simply brushes her off and walks away. The proud girl ends up frantically chasing him down the hallway. Looking at the stubborn girl waving outside the window, our guy is reminded of his past comrades. He secretly thinks her potential might actually prove to be useful. Back in Class E, their homeroom teacher strictly reminds everyone to take the upcoming monthly evaluation seriously, even though it's mostly a basic written exam. Suddenly, the corrupt teacher Cha Jun-min interrupts with a bombshell. With a sneaky smile, he announces that the first-year evaluation will be replaced with a practical exam in a real dungeon. The classroom immediately erupts in shock. Not only are the students terrified, but their homeroom teacher fiercely protests that sending inexperienced Class E kids into a real dungeon is basically murder. However, Cha Jun-min shamelessly uses avoiding discrimination as an excuse to shut down any protests. Our boy sharply realizes that forcing untrained students to hunt monsters is an absolutely ridiculous trap. Seeing Cha Jun-min hypocritically suggest they can give up if they're scared before smugly walking away, our guy instantly sees through the cheap provocation. As the villain leaves, our boy's eyes turn icy cold. He knows perfectly well that a mere teacher couldn't change the exam rules alone. The real deadly threat hiding in the shadows is just beginning to surface. With the Minister of the Subjugation Bureau pulling strings, the exam system has been rigged. Facing this conspiracy, our boy heads straight to the chairman's office. While Chairman Wooshik is stressing out over the blatant blacklisting, our guy is just chilling on the sofa. Since the villains are using fairness as an excuse, he'll just have to play along. He can't enter a dungeon empty-handed, so our boy casually asks his old subordinate for a weapon. The old man waves his hands, swearing he doesn't have anything dangerous. Our boy obviously doesn't buy that. He narrows his eyes and grabs the old man's hand. Lo and behold, there's a glowing ring right on his finger. It's the ring of Patelis. Wooshik has been wearing it out of habit for nearly 50 years to mourn his fallen leader. Just as the old man starts getting nostalgic, our boy ruthlessly snaps him out of it and forcefully yanks the ring off, pocketing it with a satisfied grin. Poor Wooshik is left completely helpless. Armed with a rusty ring that wouldn't even rank as E-class, our boy heads for the door without fear. But just then, Wooshik suddenly calls out to him with one last message. Meanwhile, after an unpleasant secret meeting, the corrupt teacher Cha Jun-min walks down the hallway, secretly plotting his next scheme. He arrives at the student council's special department room, only to be completely taken aback when he pushes the door open. Sitting inside is none other than Go Eun-chai, the idol hunter who is usually too busy to show up at school. After exchanging some passive-aggressive remarks, Jun-min steps up to the desk, trying hard to suppress his annoyance with the arrogant girl. He tosses a file onto the desk, stating that the first-year practical exam is approaching, and he needs a council member to act as a field evaluator. This is clearly a trap meant for our boy. But Eun-chai doesn't even bat an eye, flatly refusing due to her packed schedule, and coldly suggesting he cancel the exam altogether. Her dismissive attitude finally makes Jun-min snap. He yells at her, trying to guilt-trip her by bringing up his past support. But Eun-chai doesn't buy it at all. She ruthlessly shuts him down by bringing up her grandfather's authority as chairman, leaving Jun-min absolutely furious. Just as tensions peak, a cheerful greeting interrupts them. Caught off guard by another student entering, Jun-min nervously wipes his sweat and awkwardly changes the subject. Stepping up, Ayan volunteers to help with the test preparations. The corrupt teacher Jun-min finds her troublesome, but plays along for now to avoid exposing his traps. Meanwhile, Eun-chai surprisingly cancels her subjugation stream to stay at school. Staring intently at the screen, she vows to stop the past dungeon tragedy from repeating itself. Jong Yoon then drops a bombshell. He reveals our boy crushed the school bully and holds an exempt rank. This hidden truth instantly piques Yoonchi's curiosity. Back on the field, the practical test begins. While the top classes are eager to show off, our boy is the only one from his class. Flying solo just means less dead weight for a legend. Just then, a kind-hearted classmate offers to join the deadly test. Knowing the true horrors of a dungeon, our guy harshly yells at the naive rookie to back off. Kindness gets you killed down there. Ayan knows this exam is rigged to make Class E quit. But with her eyes set on the student council, failing is simply not an option. The corrupt teacher Cha Jun-min soon announces the rules. The exam requires teams of 8 to clear a low-risk dungeon, giving them an hour to strategize. Next, Kim Jong-yoon makes a flashy entrance as the exam assistant. While the crowd cheers, that familiar name definitely catches our boy's attention. Using Class E's small size as an excuse, Cha blatantly assigns our boy and Ayan to a team filled with hostile, delinquent-looking students. Ayan is completely speechless at her new teammates' terrible acting and constant whining. They even arrogantly declare they'll just pretend the duo doesn't exist. Just as Ayan is about to snap, our guy holds her back. To him, useless teammates staying out of the way is actually better. He just wants the dungeon intel. Confidently handing over a tablet, the punks freeze when the screen shows absolutely nothing. They were so busy acting tough that they forgot to prepare, instantly turning on each other. While they're still bickering, the proctors rush them in. Completely unprepared and divided, this messy team is forced to step through the portal into the unknown. As the proctor signals the start, the practical test officially begins. The inexperienced students stand before the eerie dungeon entrance, sweating with tension. Walking calmly at the front with his tablet, the proctor observes the dim surroundings, satisfied that it's a perfectly classic cave-type monster dungeon. But the moment he finishes speaking, a massive swarm of bloodthirsty monsters rushes out from the depths, completely terrifying the unprepared freshman. Facing the sudden ambush, senior student Kim Jong-un doesn't rush to help. Instead, he crosses his arms, deciding to use this chance to gauge the rookie's true skills. Finally snapping out of it, the students start fighting back, recklessly throwing wind magic, ranged shots, and berserker skills at the monster horde like there's no tomorrow. Although their overwhelming firepower manages to take down a few giant wolves, these rookies have absolutely no teamwork, turning the battlefield into a complete chaotic mess. Watching the underclassmen waste their skills and swing their weapons aimlessly, Jong-un sighs helplessly, entirely unsurprised by this disastrous performance. However, amidst the chaos, Go Ayan is the only one who catches his eye. She calmly unleashes her azure flame magic, piercing right through the giant wolf with deadly precision. Considering class he doesn't even have practical lessons, her flawless mana control is astonishing. Though Jong-un still sees her as a beginner, her extraordinary talent is enough to make everyone look forward to her next move. The students were already exhausted shortly after entering the dungeon. Just as they complained, a giant purple wolf suddenly ambushed an off-guard rookie from above. In the nick of time, our boy made his move. Activating his weapon skill, he launched a devastating explosive flick that blasted the beast away, saving the terrified student. Our boy kindly warned them to stop spamming skills, but these clueless kids mocked him for trying to steal points. Their total lack of situational awareness left him speechless. Watching these deadweights panting heavily after wasting all their mana at the entrance, our boy sighed inwardly. Apart from Ayan, he couldn't rely on anyone here. To prevent casualties, our boy held back his urge to hunt solo and approached the supervisor, pointing out the dungeon's anomalies and suggesting they halt the exam immediately. However, the corrupt teacher ignored the warning, thinking our boy was just being arrogant. Even when confronted with the harsh truth that a disaster was imminent, he brushed it off completely. Instead of stopping, the teacher intentionally asked out loud if anyone wanted to quit. Provoked by their pride, not a single student raised their hand, leaving them vulnerable to the true danger ahead. Senior Kim Jong-un expertly handles the nervous students, sharply warning the troublemakers not to drag the team down, while smilingly reassuring the rest not to worry too much. Seeing their nervous faces, Jong-un proudly promises to step in if things get dangerous. His words finally give the freshmen some peace of mind. After a long trek, the team finally reaches the boss room. But standing before the intimidating doors, the once-eager students freeze in fear. Sighing at the terrified freshman, Jong-un decides to open the door himself. However, the stubborn Ayan steps up, insisting that they face it together. The heavy doors are pushed open, but the sight inside makes everyone gasp. The terrifying boss monster they were supposed to fight is already dead in a pool of blood. Shocked by the dead beast, the students wonder if they entered the wrong dungeon. Jong-un checks his tablet, confirming this is definitely a deadly active dungeon. Just then, they spot a figure casually crouching over the corpse. It's our boy. Realizing the situation is out of control, Jong-un immediately orders an emergency retreat. A severe dungeon interference shatters the peace as a terrifying green rank boss suddenly breaks through. The sheer presence of the beast leaves everyone frozen in absolute terror. A green rank monster in a purple rank zone is a complete disaster. Panic ensues as the terrified students desperately scramble toward the exit to save their lives. Staring down the menacing three-tailed feline, senior student Jong-un knows this is incredibly bad. If left unchecked, this monster will slaughter everyone in the room. With the beast blocking their escape, Jong-un refuses to run. He bravely steps up, shielding the terrified underclassmen behind him and preparing to face the monster. Activating his C-rank system, he unleashes a barrage of golden energy blades to stall the beast. However, against a green rank boss, his attacks barely leave a scratch. Knowing he can't win alone, Jong-yoon desperately calls out to our boy for help. Jun Wu is totally caught off guard while rely on the class underdog. Struggling against the boss, Jong-yoon drops a bombshell. He's secretly looked into our boy. He already knows this supposedly weak freshman is hiding some truly monstrous power. Sirens blare in the monitoring room. While the staff sweats over the red alert screens, the executive confirms the impossible our boy's power is entirely off the charts, earning him the legendary exempt from evaluation rank. Faced with this game-breaking result, the staff suggests hiding it under the Academy's corrupt rules. But the executive smiles bitterly, reporting this unbelievable data is the only fair duty he has left. Back in the dangerous dungeon exam, a giant wolf beast goes on a rampage. Just as other students are about to be crushed, Kim Jong-un from the student council steps up to face the monster head-on. Real combat is merciless. The giant wolf attacks with overwhelming force. Despite dodging and fighting back, Jong-un gets blasted high into the air by the beast's absolute brute strength. But the descendant of a legend refuses to yield. Mid-air, his eyes glow with intense power as he stabilizes himself, landing right on the beast's head for a desperate counterattack. Jong-un's spectacular fighting leaves the hiding students in absolute awe. But when they eagerly turn to look for our boy's heroic figure, they see something completely ridiculous. The rumored overpowered special student is just hopping around the edges, completely slacking off. Everyone is speechless, utterly convinced that he's just a shameless fraud who bought his way in. Seeing the situation spiral, our boy knows he can't just stand by anymore. He quickly devises a plan to intervene from the shadows. Meanwhile, the frontline students clash with the giant wolf. Oddly enough, the green rank boss feels like a punching bag. The battle is going so smoothly that even they can't believe it. It turns out our boy is using his terrifying speed to dart across the battlefield, secretly assisting them. A sharp-eyed student catches a glimpse of his blur, completely stunned. He is shocked to realize that every time the monster tries to attack, someone instantly strikes its weak point to cancel it. This flawless unseen control makes him question our guy's true identity. With our boy's secret protection, the giant wolf finally goes down. Completely oblivious, the students start cheering, thinking they pulled off the epic takedown themselves. Meanwhile, the corrupt teacher Cha Jun-min watches smugly from the monitor room. Thinking everything is going his way, he plots to use this exam to expel our seemingly useless hero. However, the danger on the battlefield isn't over yet. Our boy sharply notices the beast is still breathing and immediately yells for everyone to fall back. But the arrogant recruit completely ignores the warning. Thinking our boy is just trying to steal the glory, he recklessly charges right back at the monster. Seeing someone blindly rush the monster to steal the kill, only to face a terrifying lightning wolf, our boy can't help but curse their sheer stupidity. Before anyone can react, the giant wolf snaps its jaws, brutally launching two students into the air. The bloody spectacle instantly leaves everyone else paralyzed with fear. Seeing their strong senior instantly struck down in a pool of blood, the students' mental defenses completely collapse as they scatter in panic. Even Ayan breaks down in tears of despair. As the giant beast locks its eyes on her, Ayan desperately tries to psych herself up to use fire magic. But faced with such overwhelming pressure, she hopelessly realizes she can barely even breathe. Extreme fear makes her hands tremble too much to cast a single skill. Just as the beast lunges at her, a devastating punch suddenly strikes from mid-air. The explosive strike lands perfectly, violently knocking the massive beast right out of the sky. Surviving death, Ayan opens her eyes to see our boy standing there with absolute composure. Amidst the deafening roar, the arrogant lightning wolf is completely crushed by this seemingly effortless blow. Ayan stares blankly at the scene, her brain completely short-circuiting over what just happened. Amidst Ayan's terrified screams, the scene descends into absolute chaos. With students heavily injured and bleeding, the seniors frantically order everyone to fall back to safety. Witnessing the carnage, our boy is filled with deep regret. He realizes holding back was a fatal mistake. He should have handled this beast himself right from the start. No more hiding. Standing alone against the raging wolf, he decisively awakens his past life's exclusive weapon, gathering a terrifying amount of highly compressed energy into his fist. Facing the monster's lunge, our boy skips the flashy dodges and delivers a devastatingly explosive punch straight to its face, unleashing a massive shockwave upon impact. This earth-shattering blow leaves everyone completely dumbfounded. Who could have guessed that this invisible freshman possessed power surpassing veteran hunters, all while wielding a supposedly outdated relic? Despite warnings about the deadly penalties of supernatural weapons, our boy doesn't care. To him, the unmatched power they provide far outweighs the risk of them backfiring. Unlike modern hunters, who have grown weak relying on basic system skills, he knows that only these weapons, which maximize a monster's core power, can handle the true disasters ahead. Suddenly, a massive wolf monster launches a deadly ambush. Terrified by the beast, his blonde teammate screams in horror, and this intense fear unexpectedly triggers a hidden mechanism. Fueled by her fear, the ring on his finger activates its ultra-high compression strike. Before the beast can even react, our guy shoots forward like a missile, landing a devastating energy-charged punch. With a deafening boom, an explosive shockwave tears through the cave. Under this absolute physical supremacy, the once fearsome wolf is instantly blown away into a blurry trace. As the system flashes a blood-red warning of the activated penalty, he calmly watches his fallen prey and begins to explain. The ring's side effect is awakening a trait known as the Devourer of Fear. Crafted from the core of a monster he hunted in his past life, the ring feeds on nearby fear, turning that emotion into an overwhelming power that even monsters can't withstand. But for our legendary hero, this penalty is nothing. He cheerfully jogs over to check on his stunned senior, leaving his teammates absolutely speechless at his casual flex. Desperately trying to stop his classmates' bleeding, Jong-yoon demands the walkie-talkie from the supervisor. The guilty teacher, sweating bullets, has no choice but to hand it over. Snatching the walkie-talkie, Jong-yoon immediately reports the horrific situation to the headquarters. With his comrade dying, he shouts desperately for a rescue team. Seeing the corrupt teacher showing zero remorse, and instead yelling to dodge responsibility, our boy finally snaps. He delivers a brutal punch, sending the scum flying. The disgraced teacher yells furiously, trying to use his authority. But our boy just glares down at him with a deathly gaze, shutting him up instantly with a chilling warning. Soon after, the rescue team finally arrives. As the injured student is hurried away, the heavy atmosphere lingers over the devastated forest. Arriving at the scene, the chairman sighs deeply. He knows our boy's decision to reveal his power to save lives means the corrupt elites will soon target him. But our guy couldn't care less. Thinking of the innocent 19-year-old who lost an arm due to their schemes, his blood boils. He vows to destroy the entire corrupt system if this ever happens again. Back in the office, Jong-yoon steps up to protect our boy, delivering a stern warning to the higher-ups. Faced with this pressure, the executives have no choice but to back down temporarily. Next up, the gray-haired executive calls in the corrupt teacher Cha. Unbelievably, this guy still has the nerve to make excuses, claiming the sudden practical test was just to solve educational inequality. This absolute nonsense infuriates the executive, who slams the desk and bluntly calls out his plot to eliminate our boy. The sudden directness makes the usually slick teacher Cha break into a cold sweat. However, this old fox quickly regains his composure. He shamelessly emphasizes that all test procedures followed the manual, trying to use technicalities to cover up his blatant setup. When questioned about the absurd difficulty, Cha even fires back, noting that the chairman approved the test himself, writing off any casualties as accidents. This airtight deflection leaves the executive speechless. Left with no choice, the executive helplessly tells him to submit a report. Cha smugly adjusts his collar, thinking he got away with it again. But just as he turns to leave, the executive calls him out. He delivers a chilling warning. The one he truly fears isn't some corrupt official, but our boy himself, who radiates the exact same terrifying aura as the original legendary hero from 40 years ago. If this happens again, I won't be able to save you. Seeing the dead serious look in the executive's eyes, Cha's smile completely freezes as a shiver of pure dread runs down his spine. Meanwhile, the corrupt teacher Cha nervously reports to the Parents Association over the phone. Hearing that the dungeon incident has been covered up internally, he lets out a sigh of relief. However, the higher-up abruptly changes his tone, sternly warning him that the student council spots are already rigged, and demanding he clean up the mess with the special admission student. Cha can only nod obediently. After hanging up, Cha breaks out in a cold sweat. Recalling our boy's terrifying strength, he knows he's dealing with a monster. Still, to protect his status, he vows to eliminate him. Cut to the hospital. Our boy, who was just fighting monsters like a god of war, is now screaming in pain while a nurse treats his wounds, creating a hilarious contrast. Watching his dramatic reaction, the blonde senior can't help but mock him. Our boy doesn't argue back, only sighing inwardly. It seems his new body is really struggling after not using supernatural weapons for so long. Fed up with the senior pestering him every day for help with the student council election, Our guy rubs his head in annoyance. He ruthlessly rejects her on the spot, making it clear he has no time for such drama. Pushing the door open, our boy and Ayan arrive at the hospital to check on Jongyun. Despite his severe injuries, the guy is surprisingly upbeat, even joking about his pain. Recalling their previous ordeal, Ayan can't help but complain about the coward who ran away without a word of thanks after being saved. Jongyun brushes it off with a smile. Deep down, he holds immense respect for our boy's rare courage to risk everything to save others. Getting down to business, Jongyun drops his smile and warns them that joining the student council will be incredibly difficult. Ayan assumes it's because they're in Class E. Jongyun shakes his head and reveals the existence of the Parents Association. This group of elites has already rigged the system, reserving all 5 student council spots for their own kids. Hearing this, our boy and Ayan finally realize the truth. The seemingly fair selection process is nothing but a rigged game controlled by the rich. When Ayan suspects him of using connections too, Jongyun frantically waves his hands, explaining he only got in as a backup because a spot coincidentally opened up. Our boy sharpens his gaze, catching the dark implication. Could that open spot mean a student died in the process? His piercing question instantly freezes the room. The blonde senior tries to talk Ayan out of the student council race, warning her it's too dangerous. But our stubborn Ayan furiously refuses to compromise with corruption. Failing to convince Ayan, the senior turns to our boy for backup. But Jun Wu coldly states he's only focused on the apocalyptic crisis unless he can meet Go Eun-chai. He has no time for school drama. Speak of the devil. Accompanied by gasps of surprise, the popular idol Go Eun-chai actually makes her entrance. It turns out she just dropped by to visit the senior today. Seeing his target deliver herself right to his doorstep, our guy is thrilled. He immediately puts on a friendly smile and steps up to greet her. However, Eun-chai just gives him a passing glance and a quick remark before turning her cold gaze straight to her bitter rival, the blonde senior. With old grudges resurfacing, the tension between the two girls instantly hits freezing point. The terrifying standoff leaves our boy completely dumbfounded on the sidelines. After that chaotic showdown, the meeting naturally ends in failure. Back in his room, our boy casually admits to his roommate that things didn't go well at all. But our guy hasn't given up. He takes the chance to ask about Yunchi's relationship with her grandfather. Hearing that they only maintain a superficial bond, Jun Wu's mind immediately starts brewing a new plan. In the hospital room, our boy and his companion are brainstorming. They thought about getting Eun-chai to ask the chairman for a favor, but that's a dead end. However, his companion mentions the only thing that might catch the spoiled girl's interest, getting Go Eun to drop out. Hearing this, our boy is completely stunned. Eun-chai clearly resents her half-sister. When his companion cautiously suggests actually making Eun drop out, our guy falls silent, refusing to easily sell out his own ally. Meanwhile, the blonde upperclassman sits alone on a bench, drowning her sorrows in a canned drink. She's desperate to join the student council to get revenge on Go Sukdu. But reality hits hard with her current skills. Even graduating seems impossible. She knows she desperately needs our boy's help but sighs hopelessly without anything to offer him. Just as she feels defeated, our boy strolls up in his hospital gown with a savage roast. It seems he's actively seeking out this new ally to break the deadlock. Sitting on a bench, our boy casually brings up a topic. Eun reacts intensely, instantly assuming he's about to drop out after recent events. Amused by her reaction, our boy explains he just had another fight with Eun-chai. With their relationship hitting rock bottom, peaceful persuasion is officially off the table. Since talking won't work, our guy decides to just threaten Eun-chai instead. While Eun looks at him like he's crazy, he points right at her. She is the ultimate weakness. Eun finds it ridiculous. Eun-chai is a top-tier star. Why would she ever care about an underdog from Class E who was kicked out of the family? Our boy calmly counters, what if she starts to think you could actually take her place someday? Eun nearly chokes on her drink, arguing that it's completely unrealistic. Unfazed by her self-doubt, our guy simply replies they'll just make her strong enough. Sparked by his challenge, Eun's stubbornness flares up as she loudly declares she can do it. With that settled, our boy stands up to end the chat. Their goal is set, and time is running out. Starting tomorrow, she'd better be ready for some hellish training. Hearing our boy's bold plan to take over the student council and clash directly with the parent association, both Eun and the senior are left utterly speechless. Genuinely touched by his resolve to break the corrupt rules, Eun sincerely thanks him. Our boy just waves it off, walking away smoothly in his flashy pajamas. Meanwhile, Inside a high-end sushi restaurant, a group of wealthy parents are busy feasting and shamelessly bragging about their kids' top grades in the elite classes. The door slides open, and in walks the corrupt teacher Cha Jun-min, wearing his signature fake smile while completely brushing off the deadly dungeon incident. After some hypocritical small talk, Jun-min's smile turns sinister. As the lapdog of the elites, he knows it's time to get down to real business. Sitting at this table are the true puppet masters of the academy. Jun-min respectfully pulls out some documents from his briefcase, ready to execute their shady backroom deals. Just look at their terrifying titles: media vice presidents, top guild leaders, and official agency captains. To protect their kids, these big shots have woven an unbreakable web of corruption. Inside a luxurious room, wealthy parents are having a secret meeting. Hearing that the special admission student cleared the dungeon alone, they instantly start to panic. They worry that if this student runs for the student council, their kids will lose their spots. Facing their questions, the corrupt teacher Cha Jun-min quickly reassures them. He confidently claims he has a plan. Pounding his chest, he promises the elites that he'll rig things to ensure all their children secure a seat on the council. Meanwhile, our boy finally returns to the academy. The moment he shows up, the classmates who used to ignore him suddenly swarm around, checking on him with fake concern. The school just posted the exam results, leaving everyone's jaws on the floor. In a brutal test that injured top seniors, our guy somehow took first place. Seeing his sudden fame, these snobbish students instantly try to kiss up to him. But our boy sees right through their act, coldly telling them to get lost. The class is buzzing with surprise over the unmanipulated test scores. Ayan sighs in relief, casually discussing the rare fair results with our boy. But our guy doesn't care about grades. He immediately pivots to Ayan's training. She complains about the endless physical conditioning, especially with finals right around the corner. Turns out, the final exam format has been changed to a student sparring match. This strange curriculum has the class gossiping, and our boy senses something fishy. Ayan knows their likely opponent is the arrogant bully Oh Jusiok. Backed by his powerful father, he's already been pre-selected for the student council by the corrupt parent association. However, this is also an opportunity. Since Jusiok's record is terrible, Ayan points out that beating him in the sparring match is the perfect ticket to passing the first selection. Noticing her hesitation, our boy gives her a terrifying glare that instantly makes her vow to win. Pleased with her spirit, he adds hellish martial arts training to her schedule. When he casually asks her to recruit some friends, Ayan completely breaks down in tears. She furiously yells back, pointing out that he's just as much of a friendless loner as she is. Caught off guard, our boy awkwardly mutters about having the elderly chairman as a friend. Faced with this messy situation, he can only cross his arms and hope for the best. Meanwhile, Ayan and her classmates sense a fleeting oddity, but assuming it's just their imagination, they quickly brush it off. Cutting to the hospital, Jong-yoon sits bored on his bed, casually scrolling through his phone and missing the lively company of his juniors. Just then, the door opens. A warm voice calls out, instantly bringing a surprised and happy smile to Jong-yoon's face as his father walks in. His dad got off work early and brought a fruit basket. Hearing that his son is recovering well finally puts his worried mind at ease. Chatting away, his dad brings up Jong-yoon's grandfather, a legendary hunter who never gave up even after losing his arm, always believing there's a way as long as you're alive. Fueled by that same spirit, his dad eagerly pulls out a secret document. He's been quietly investigating the incident from 2 years ago, trying to expose the parent association's dirty tricks. But instead of being supportive, Jong-yoon completely loses his temper. He angrily yells that digging into the powerful parent association already got his dad fired and ruined their entire family. Stunned by his son's harsh words, the father freezes. But before Jong-yoon can even finish his sentence, his dad suddenly collapses in agonizing pain, leaving Jong-yoon absolutely terrified. Meanwhile, Kim Jong-yoon, the grandson of a legendary hunter, is drowning in despair. Having lost his chance to be a hunter, he refuses to hear any more about his grandfather or those 40-year-old tales. Back to our boy, who sent a few flunkies to gather intel on the student council election to help Ayan. Unfortunately, these guys are pretty useless and came back empty-handed. Even so, our guy decides to tip them for their efforts. Putting on an elder's air, he generously hands over the cash, insisting this fortune is enough for the three of them to treat themselves. However, staring at that single 1,001 bill, the three lackeys are left absolutely speechless. Little do they know, to our reincarnated ancient hero, this amount used to feel like enough to buy the world. After dismissing his lackeys, our boy starts plotting for the final exams. With Ayan on her own for the written test, the only way to crush the school bully, Ojusiok, is to dominate the combat trials. Just as he's stressing over finding a secret training spot, a familiar voice calls out. It's Senior Jongyun, who enthusiastically greets him and asks about his progress in training Ayan, catching our boy completely off guard. Though fighting the parent association seems crazy, our boy's teammates quickly find their courage when remembering how they survived the deadly dungeon together. Flashing back to that nightmarish dungeon experience, the senior student can't help but wish our boy had been around to save them 2 years ago. To return the life-saving favor, the senior steps up and generously offers our guy's team full access to his private training gym. Meanwhile, in the counseling room, the corrupt teacher is busy putting immense psychological pressure on the recently disciplined school bully. Hearing that our boy is secretly an exempt-level powerhouse and planning to run for the student council, the bully instantly starts sweating bullets. Seeing the bully completely break down, the sly teacher seizes the chance to hand him leaked exam papers, clearly plotting another dirty trick against our boy. To completely crush our boy in the upcoming sparring match, the villains are plotting in secret, with the suited man claiming he has the perfect plan ready. He reveals an unregistered B rank arc. Considering most students are only D rank, this high-level gear is an absolute game changer. Seeing this rare equipment meant for active hunters, the school bully is thrilled, calling it a total cheat code for the upcoming match. To help him master this new power, they even bring in a heavyweight helper. The door opens to reveal the school's popular idol hunter, Go Eun-chai. It turns out our boy's confident attitude had already ticked off the proud idol. To crush him, she agrees to be the bully's coach, cementing the villain's alliance. Meanwhile, our boy isn't slacking off either. He's putting his ally through a merciless Spartan-style training session, beating her back so hard that even the room's bed takes collateral damage. The sparring session is getting intense, but Ayan is finally fed up with being a punching bag. Seeing everyone else use flashy magic, she angrily asks our guy if he's messing with her. Hearing her complaints, our boy sighs and decides to show her the power gap. He tells her to attack him with skills, leaving Ayan stunned and worried she might accidentally kill him. Pushed by our guy, Ayan decides to stop holding back. Activating her system, she engulfs her fist in scorching azure flames and charges forward, no longer caring about the consequences. With a blinding blue flash, Ayan throws a magic-infused punch. To test her actual combat level, our boy doesn't fight back, simply sliding backward to defend against her fierce attacks. Fired up, Ayan fights more aggressively. With an angry roar, she perfectly exploits an opening and lands a solid blow to his head, sending him flying across the ring. Finally letting out her frustration, Ayan sits down smugly, taunting him to get back up. Meanwhile, our boy quietly takes a knee with a bleeding lip, playing the perfect training dummy. After a brief pause, Ayan switches tactics. Engulfed in blue flames, she leaps high into the air and launches a devastating dive attack, using gravity to boost her momentum. Seeing her flawlessly combine magic with close combat, our boy is secretly impressed. But the lesson isn't over. He dodges instantly and delivers a ruthless counterpunch to her stomach, showing her what a real fight looks like. Seeing Ayan push to her limits, our boy bluntly points out her fatal flaw. Relying too much on chaining skills only creates massive openings for her opponent. Since theory isn't getting through, our boy decides a hands-on approach is best. He immediately takes a combat stance, launching relentless attacks to force her to learn the rhythm through actual fighting. Instead of backing down under the fierce pressure, Ayan gets completely fired up. Seeing her grit her teeth and fiercely strike back, our boy can't help but feel a little impressed. Seizing the perfect moment, Ayan lands a devastating high kick. The sheer impact forces our boy on the defensive, unexpectedly triggering her dormant azure flame skill in the heat of battle. The sudden burst of power leaves Ayan herself completely stunned. This unexpected surprise instantly hits the pause button on their intense sparring session. The grueling training session finally ends, with Ayan collapsed on the mat. Our boy calmly reminds her that mastering the basics is the only way to truly exploit an enemy's weakness. Thinking back to that powerful strike, our boy breaks a cold sweat, realizing he almost countered on lethal instinct. Exhausted on the mat, Ayan finally asks the burning question, just who, or what, exactly are you? Defeated and exhausted, Ayan lies on the mat, questioning reality. She wonders if our boy is some secretly trained agent, given his terrifying combat experience. Jun Wu just finds her wild imagination ridiculous. Just then, Senior Jongyun walks in. After a quick greeting, He looks around the dusty training room with nostalgia, mentioning that it hasn't been used since his father retired. Changing the subject, our boy asks about Jongyun's future plans. The senior smiles bitterly, admitting that his lifelong dream of being a hunter seems impossible now. However, Jun Wu looks him dead in the eye, stating that he can still be a hunter even without an arm. Jongyun's face darkens, feeling that such lighthearted encouragement is mocking his harsh reality. But our boy isn't joking. He calmly shares a story of a former comrade, who also lost his right arm but trained relentlessly, eventually becoming even stronger than before. When Jun Wu repeats the man's catchphrase and mentions the name Kim Chung-hoon, Jongyun's eyes widen in absolute shock. Overwhelmed with emotion, he yells out that the legendary hunter was his own grandfather. A massive explosion rocks the training ground. Seeing the terrifying power of his new weapon, the arrogant school bully Oh Jusiok is thrilled beyond belief. Watching this, Go Eun-chai is convinced our boy is finished. However, a cautious companion reminds Jusiok to keep his new toy under control during the test. The companion strictly warns against using that technique. But the arrogant Jusiok scoffs, declaring he won't even need his trump card to deal with trash like our guy. The villains hiding in the shadows smirk at the students' scheming. They are fully convinced that by using Go Eun-chai as a weapon, our boy won't escape this time. Meanwhile, the upper management is divided. The perceptive Lee Jong-hoon is deeply terrified by the primal aura our boy emits, but the arrogant executives just mock him for speaking nonsense. The scene shifts to a dusty memory. 40 years ago, our boy, then a legendary captain, snuck into his good brother Kim Chung-hoon's camp late at night with Wooshik. When our boy pulls out a rare bottle of liquor, the usually stern Chung-hoon's eyes instantly light up. Who could have guessed these rare moments of joy would eventually turn into endless regret? The gates of memory slowly open to a time when our boy and his comrades were sharing drinks. The three veterans gathered around, pouring drinks and catching up on old times. Amidst the laughter, Chung-hoon joked about still being able to live as a hunter. This bittersweet comment reminded our boy of the tragic day when Chung-hoon lay heavily bandaged in a hospital bed, having just lost his right arm. Our boy was heartbroken seeing such a talent ruined. However, instead of giving up, Chung-hoon smiled and begged him to teach a fighting technique that only required his left arm, leaving our boy momentarily speechless. Moved by his fierce determination, our boy eventually agreed. Once Chung-hoon recovered a bit, a hellish training regime began. Without his dominant right arm, even just holding a wooden sword with his left hand was incredibly difficult. But Chung-hoon pushed through, proving everyone wrong. His swordsmanship evolved from brute force into deadly precision, targeting monster weaknesses to become even stronger than before he lost his arm. Back at the table, Chung-hoon laughed as he complained about how brutal the training was, admitting he almost ran away several times. Reminiscing about those tough times brought a smile to everyone's face. Mentioning the wooden sword that helped him through his recovery, Chung-hoon looked at it fondly. He planned to pass it down to his grandson Dongju as a meaningful family heirloom once the boy grew up. The comrades teased him, hoping he'd live long enough to see his grandkid grow up. But our boy quickly pointed out that saying something like that sounded exactly like a classic movie death flag. Memories flashed back to his past life. Our boy and his comrades were drinking heavily, exchanging rough jokes while enjoying a rare moment of relaxation. That night, Chung-hoon spent the whole time eagerly bragging about his son. But no one expected it to be their very last drinking session together. Back in the present, Senior Dongju pulls out an old photo, proudly introducing his father and grandfather to our boy and Ian. A bitter smile crosses our boy's mind the moment he sees the photo. The man happily carrying the little boy is none other than Chung-hoon, his most trusted subordinate from his past life. Flashes of their past toasts reappear. Our boy's eyes dim slightly, feeling a pang of regret for casually making that promise to live long enough to see his grandchildren. When Ian curiously asks about him, Dongju casually explains that his grandfather passed away in an accident while investigating a supernatural crisis back then. Dongju is slightly surprised by our boy's reaction. He scratches his head, smiling as he admits he didn't expect a junior to know about his grandfather's past. Dongju admits he finds the rumors of his grandfather growing stronger after losing an arm a bit far-fetched. But our guy interrupts without hesitation, confirming it with absolute certainty. Hearing this, Dongju laughs loudly, saying our boy would definitely get along with his father. However, he helplessly reveals that his father has been stubbornly investigating some highly dangerous clues in secret. Hearing our boy's question, the senior finally sighs and reveals the truth. The recent exam incident is shockingly similar to a tragedy from the past, and it's heavily tied to our crew. Right before that exam, the rules were suddenly changed, leading to 2 gruesome deaths. The only police officer brave enough to fight the corrupt parent association was ruthlessly fired. Ironically, the parent association's nominees never even took the exam, while the senior eventually joined the student council. The guilt of not reaching out back then has haunted him ever since. Our boy immediately connects the dots. That's exactly why the senior risked his life to save the junior last time. He simply couldn't stomach watching another person die in front of him. Just then, our boy's eyes lock onto an old wooden sword in the corner. The senior explains it's his grandfather's only memento. Our guy instantly recognizes it as his past comrade's exclusive weapon. Tracing the familiar weapon filled with memories, our boy's gaze deepens. Without hesitation, he asks the senior if he could borrow this wooden sword. Facing the senior's confusion, our guy smirks and drops a challenge. You always thought your grandpa's legends were exaggerated, right? Come watch my next sparring exam, and I'll prove to you they are all true. The written exams officially begin. But our boy is sweating bullets, staring at the paper, realizing that decades of fighting monsters didn't exactly prepare him for high school academics. On the flip side, the usually arrogant bully Ojusiak is writing furiously. Our guy knows perfectly well that these privileged kids definitely memorized the stolen answers beforehand. Our boy figures he doesn't need to worry about Ayan's grades. However, she's currently being intensely scrutinized by a strict proctor, forcing her to endure the suffocating pressure. The grueling written tests finally wrap up on day 4. The PA system blares, ordered all first-year students to head to the main auditorium for the highly anticipated sparring test. At the mention of sparring, our guy's helpless expression instantly turns sharp. The hallways are swarming with excited students as Ayan calls out for him to hurry up, the real battle is about to begin. But when they step inside, the sight leaves them completely speechless. The massive arena is packed with cheering crowds and professional camera crews, making it look more like a flashy entertainment spectacle than a school exam. With the crowd buzzing and cameras rolling, the elites have turned a sacred exam into a cheap reality show for views and money. Amidst the toxic atmosphere, Chairman Bae Wooshik steps up to personally explain the rules for the practical exam. Turns out it's a random King of the Hill format. Hearing this, our boy just smirks. This is the exact same rule he used 40 years ago. The rules are simple. Winning gets you 1 point, losing gets 0. 0-point participants can retry infinitely, but losing with a point means instant elimination. After the chairman emphasizes safety, the crowd goes wild as the elite class A kicks off the very first test. At the referee's signal, the 2 combatants charge at each other, instantly igniting the arena with their fierce, hard-hitting clash. Watching the dazzling skills on stage, Ayan gasps, completely blown away by Class A's power. She turns around, eager to hear Jun Wu's take. But our boy is literally snoozing with his wooden sword. He casually dismisses the fight as a total mess, telling Ayan to wake him when it's their turn, leaving her absolutely speechless. As the D-class sparring finally wraps up, our boy is rudely shaken awake from his nap to face the reality of their upcoming test. The E-class combat test officially begins. But since they're the underdog class, no one even bothers to watch, with students already chatting about lunch. When Ayan points out the crowd's complete lack of interest, our guy casually roasts her by asking if she ever cared about the other classes, leaving her speechless. Meanwhile, Ayan notices Senior Jongyun standing nearby, watching them with a warm smile and his wooden sword in hand. The announcer draws the first fighters. Our boy was hoping to send someone average to hide their true strength, but Ayan's name immediately pops up on the big screen. So much for keeping a low profile. As Ayan steps up to the arena, she takes a deep breath and tries to focus on everything they've practiced. Right when she's trying to calm her nerves, our guy casually drops an absurd demand telling her to go and secure 10 consecutive wins, which completely catches her off guard. The referee gives the signal, and the match officially begins. With her opponent already activating their skills, it's finally time to put Ayan's brutal training to the ultimate test. With a powerful blast of wind magic, the opponent is sent flying before she can even react, completely knocked out of the fight. The referee immediately declares Ayan the winner of the first round. The crowd is stunned by her incredible power, while she flashes a confident smile. However, our boy in the stands isn't cheering at all. Gripping his wooden sword with a frown, he thinks her ruthless attack was a bit too much.